Alright, I'm showing live on my end, so it looks like we are good to go. So, a little change, actually, no, a major change, a major overhaul. I've had, between today and last week, I have had a lot of minutes, a lot of seconds, basically, so, a lot of time to think about what happened. I went to bed on Tuesday, November 3rd, thinking that Republicans were going to win because it looked like Republicans were ahead everywhere with the exception of Arizona. And it looked like it was going to be a repeat of 2016 with the exception of Arizona swinging blue, which would not have been enough to make a Biden presidency. I woke up the next morning and everything flipped, and then everything that was red started to turn blue, and we saw this happen over the next few days, and I had a lot of time to think about what happened and analyze how I had been so wrong in my predictions and analysis. What led me to get to the point where everything I had thought about, everything I had anticipated, had been incorrect. So, a lot of soul searching. Again, since last Tuesday, a lot of changes in my thought processes. And so I've got a prepared statement that I'm going to read before I start the rest of the show. So first, you may or may not have noticed, I am no longer going by the moniker Humane Mind. And as I said before, the idea behind that name was I was trying to apply humanity to what I thought was the logical part of me. I was trying to develop my emotional side, and come to find out, I had it backwards. I was being entirely emotional, but so I was being irrational and highly emotional, but to one side. So I have changed the name of that I'm going to go by from now on. I have changed the name of the channel and of these episodes. I am now going to go by the name Truth, as in the past, or maybe not in the past, but I don't know how else to make truth or truth an adjective, so I'm going, so just let me explain. So it's Truth Ministry. I mean, there's a couple other ways. I was looking for a way to make this name, or something along those lines. And so Truth Ministry was already taken. There's a bunch of others. So I added the ED, and I'm like, okay, it essentially means the same thing as, that I'm going for here. Because I had thought I was giving the truth, but no. Turns out I was spewing the lies, the propaganda of one side, and ignoring the truth on the other side. So here's my full confession here, and this is now in my basic info for my channel. I accuse myself of the following crimes. I have been extremely phobic. I have manipulated my subscribers, and I purposefully contracted COVID to digitally spread it to my YouTube audience. I have helped the Russians by parroting their talking points. And I stand here, a victim of the influence of evil, Nazi racist, fascist, or the of the evil. I guess I should add the evil. Sorry, the evil Nazi, racist, fascist dictator, Donald Trump, guilty on all counts. That applies to both Trump and me. I am glad I was stopped because I was mentally deranged. And just like the ballots on November 4th or November 3rd, now I am cured. I don't know how I was so blind that I didn't see these things before, but my eyes are open now. I woke up. I see the world as it truly is. And so I'm going to be covering a lot of things that led me to this. It's because there is so much insanity going on right now amongst the people that I watched regularly and I looked up to and I thought had the answers. So, so the topics for this video are going to be another day, another lost legend, and thankfully that is a topic that is not related to the politics, but that it was something that happened in the news this week, and I was going to do that regardless of the rest of the stuff I came to conclude. And then I'm going to be talking, so the next topic is change of heart, and I'm going to be talking about what started me down this path. And then, so that's the people who helped me see the error of my ways. Standard protocol. That's going to be, so there's something I saw on Charlie Kirk's program where he was talking about proof of voter fraud, and I'm going to be going through that, breaking down why that's wholly inaccurate. The election in a nutshell. So those are, that's kind of my synopsis of what I saw, and I will be explaining that. The zombie apocalypse, because this is one of those crazy, the side that cares about facts over feelings is now preaching this narrative. It's very unsettling. Then we'll talk about the end of the Union, because apparently that's a thing. Whistle While You Irk, that is a story about these phony whistleblowers. Man, let's see if I can do this justice. Hello, my name is Human. Maybe not. Definitely better with music in the background, and definitely better if I wasn't trying to keep it at a minimal tone, because I do have neighbors in my apartment. I don't want to yell and scream into the microphone, so hopefully that came through pretty nicely. Let me check the chat real fast to see if anybody... I only got the one viewer. Okay. So sorry. Unlike a lot of my previous streams, I just kind of did a lot of things on the fly. I had, kind of basic outlines of the topics, and my show notes were like exactly the same as my as the description for my video, and I would just, okay, this topic, these are the things I want to say about that topic, and just kind of had the outline in my mind and would go through them. This time, it's a way more scripted. I put a lot more thought into this because, like I said, I've had a lot of minutes, a lot of seconds to think over the events of this week. So that topic is about the automated systems and things along those lines. Then we've got China. What a dope. Yeah, it just shows that this is a topic about the how clueless people are about China, and how easily they are manipulated by stories and propaganda from right wingers. 1776 will commence again, and this is that's a reference if you're not familiar. I mean, some people should know it. That's a reference to something Alex Jones threatened in his Piers Morgan appearance. And at the time, I was in full support of that. I was like, yeah, you tell him. And now I'm just like, oh, it's a meme. 1776 is a meme for the right wing. They don't believe it, and I'm gonna talk about that. Then we're going to talk about, so this is going to be a long one. This might go to 9:30 or 10 easily, just me by myself talking about these topics. So strap in. I would say suit up, but that was the plan for today, but my haircut took a little bit longer than I had anticipated, so I didn't get a chance to suit up before prepping for the stream. But that is something I plan on doing. Excuse me. That is something I plan on doing for future streams, making this kind of more professional, like a news setting. Binford Tools, that's another one of these conspiracies that has been going around, and it is ridiculous, and I'm going to be talking about how it's self-defeating. COVID concerns, how they're being ignored by the right wing, and how it's only the left that is taking, the right wing is still being, they aren't looking back. They're not assessing their situation. They're not taking stock of how they failed. So everything they were blaming Hillary for doing in 2016, they're doing the exact same thing right now. And that includes what they're talking about, the hypocrisy around COVID. Let's see. So I think this is a little outdated. So the next one is Cry More, because again, like I said, you're gonna see video clips circulating around the internet of, Republicans on their knees screaming, because everything they mocked the left for, they are now doing. And then I'll be talking about Litterally Hitler. And then I do have some ending clips. I don't know how many of those I'll end up getting to, but because like I said, this is a long stream. We'll see how it goes. There's so many links and topics to talk about here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got at least a dozen of these tabs opened on my browser right now. And I know there's more in the notes that I didn't get to yet. So let's see. So that's the 1776 is the one I ended on. So let me scroll to that place in my show notes and make sure that I'm not repeating links and that I've got that prepped and ready for whenever I start closing out links here. All right. Whew. All right. Now there's a lot to get out there. Whew. So let's go. New format. Truth Ministry. So I guess, yeah, so I always considered myself dedicated to the truth, and I thought I was, and I want to make sure that I'm out there spreading the word, spreading the actual truth, and undoing any of the past damage I may have caused. That's the reason behind this name, is I know I'm responsible for spreading phobia. It is massive paranoia that all every mainstream media organization is out to get you. How did I buy into this nonsense? Okay, yeah, it's like I could get one or two, like maybe Fox was out to get you, maybe Breitbart's out to get you, but CNN, MSNBC, the NPR, all of these organizations are against you. Yeah, at some point you got to stop and ask yourself, is it all of them that are wrong, or is it me? So we'll get there. All right. So the first bit of news, 2020. More bad news. Even after good news and changes, there's always bad news, and I didn't want this topic to get overlooked in the the insanity of the election cycle. So here's this bit.
Longtime host of the game show Jeopardy, Alex Trebek, has passed away at the age of 80. He died peacefully at home, surrounded by friends and family, after fighting against pancreatic cancer. The TV host first announced his cancer battle in 2019, sharing the news desk behind the Jeopardy desk. Mr. Trebek had presided over more than 8,000 episodes of the beloved program.
Yeah, that's a lot of Jeopardy. And similar to last week, he's a living legend and will be missed, but his legacy lives on. And so I've got a video clip I want to play. I didn't have any video clips of the actual show Jeopardy because I didn't want to, spoilers, giving away the answers to episodes. I want people to be able to watch those without without it being ruined for them. So here's this. Okay, so I kind of had this clip queued up before all the insanity happened. I apologize for that. I hadn't realized how homophobic these clips were. Because I see it now, but at the time I was watching these, I thought they were just jokes for laughs, but now I see they're mocking him for being gay. That's the joke, which is not a joke. If one man wants to inspect the anal cavity of another man, that's the choice they make, and you're not allowed to be involved in the situation. You're not either man. There's nothing wrong with that. This is not something you're supposed to mock people with. Sorry about. I just want to clarify, for the record, this is a comedy skit where all of the celebrities are portrayed as stupid versions of themselves, like the worst possible versions of themselves. That's why they're getting everything incorrect. So this has no bearing on the credibility of celebrities on other topics. Celebrities aren't as stupid as the Celebrity Jeopardy episodes were making them out to be. Just for clarity, that's a right-wing talking point, and I'm like, no, the celebrities were right, because look, the mainstream media is saying this, Democrats are saying this. The only people who are saying this are the people out there wearing tinfoil hats and not wearing masks. Those are the only people who are saying the celebrities don't know what they're talking about. So, all right, just to clarify, and then we'll let the skit play out. There's only a couple more seconds of this.
Well, you got that right. Well. 2 Trebeks. I feel like I'm in a Raisin Bran commercial. 2 scoops of fruit.
Ooh. Yeah. Again, sorry about the homophobic jokes. Again, this is 2013. It was a different time. The sense of humor wasn't as evolved as it is now, and these types of things would not be allowed today. I apologize to anybody watching this. I am, like I said, based on my past, I'm still in that transition period. Not sexual transition. But I'm still coming to grips with reality. Sorry about this. That should have been the last one. We'll let this play out a little more. I don't know, but it should be good. Should be fine.
I don't have to take that from you.
I guess it's true. Old married couples do start to look alike.
Okay.
There. Okay. Yeah. Okay. There was one more. Okay. I definitely should have rewatched this before queuing it up. Again, sorry about that. This is gonna be harder than I thought. There's a lot of old habits to gouge away. All right. That's enough of that. But Alex Trebek, class act, good guy all around. I don't know of anybody having anything negative to say about him. And he hosted Jeopardy for years, and he wasn't just the host. He also was part of the team that was coming up with the questions and all that. All right, let's move into the other topics. I don't know if I've got these backwards, but we'll play the video first. So this is another person who started to wake up because of what they saw the right wing doing after the election started swinging for Biden. All right. So this is why Donald Trump deserved to lose.
The man who spearheaded a global initiative to decriminalize homosexuality and appointed America's first openly gay cabinet member is a homophobe. The man who negotiated 4 historic peace agreements and managed to avoid having to go to war against a NATO ally is a warmonger.
Oh, okay, I want to stop it. So, yeah, again, cherry-picking resources. Wait. I think... Alright, I think I... Did I have this wrong? Alright, I'm gonna let this play to the end. Alright,
The man who wants to bring troops home does not value the U.S. military.
Yeah, because he called them losers and suckers. So, yes.
The man who fixed the VA thinks people wounded or killed in war are losers and suckers.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Okay, whew.
The man who increased funding for black colleges and universities and locked it in for 10 years hates black people.
Okay, everything, yeah, that's because all of that was stuff that happened before him. All, like, historically black colleges, they were already receiving funding. He wasn't the one giving them new funding. Okay, all he did was maintain the status quo. So yeah, he that doesn't, and again, you can have a black friend and still be racist. That's doing one thing for black people does not undermine hating them.
The man who created opportunity zones to revitalize distressed communities hates minorities. The man who champions school choice hates the poor.
Yeah, because he's a billionaire.
The man who presided over the biggest 3-year increase in median household earnings in decades hates the middle class.
Okay, so... Yes, so I agree with her conclusion. I think her build-up to it is a little... Okay, so this is a video from Karen Strong. I saw this video... So I think she's kind of in the same boat as me, where she's seeing the insanity on the right and is coming to her senses. I think there's still a little hangover of the older stuff, the older way of thinking in her video, because that last one did not sound right, seeing it a second time. That almost sounded like she was kind of making a case for Trump, and then at the end repeated the truth. So, I'm a little confused there. But we'll move on.
The man who began closing the wealth gap is only in it for his own financial gain.
Oh, and I want to clarify for the record, any of these financial benefits Trump is taking, is claiming for himself, wouldn't have happened if Obama hadn't paved the way, hadn't set all this up, and he's just riding on Obama's coattails. So
the man who reduced our dependence on communist China and stood up for Hong Kong and Taiwan hates democracy. The man who reopened the Iron Range and created hundreds of thousands of high-paying resource jobs hates the working class.
But he also hates the environment. I don't know what it's. Do you think the working class are not going to be affected? When the world, when they're not just going to lose their jobs, but they're going to lose their lives when the world starts going. Man, this is a lot harder than I anticipated, because it's a lot of things that I used to think and used to parrot, and every scientist can't be wrong when it comes to global warming, and so, it kind of was hard to say that and spit that out, but it feels like there's a weight coming off my chest when I speak these things. So yeah, I mean, does he think, oh well, these people have jobs? Yeah, sure, that helps here and now, but it's not going to help whenever the entire world is going up in flames because of global warming. So, all right.
The first man in American history whose net worth went down while he was president is a greedy fat cat.
Well, he is. He tried to use his political office to enrich his family members, and they have gotten richer after he got into office. But he only ran for office because he was losing money. He was a billionaire, but that's because he rode his father's coattails into becoming a billionaire. And if you were granted a $1 million loan from your father and had your father's name to run on, you could have become a billionaire too. So he was losing money. He was all of his businesses were failing, and he ran for office as a way of getting political power, so he could save his businesses and save his fortune. That's far more likely than he's just so good-hearted and kind that he's gonna step away from his multi-billion-dollar business and come save America. Oh, okay, because that's likely. I mean, this is hard. Again, dismantling and tearing down the walls of the things that I used to buy into this. All right.
The man who instituted prison reform and criminal justice reform is a racist sociopath. The man who had a record number of small donations to his campaign and funded much of it with his own money is a Wall Street shill. The man who doesn't take a salary as president is not paying his fair share.
Okay, I may have jumped the gun when including this video in my show notes. I'm starting to think this is not entirely accurate. I'm starting to think this might be actually a pro-Trump video. I mean, wait. No, the name is still the same. Why Donald Trump Deserved to Lose. And I'm seeing... Oh, okay. I'm gonna step away from this for a minute because I'm starting to think this is sending the wrong message. Not what I want to portray. Not what I want to show people. I'm trying to put things like this in the past. So bye to that clip. It's in the show notes because I did include it in the video, and I don't want to. Okay, but I'm gonna leave that there. So this is something that more directly impacted my views on how things are going. So Barbara for you 2C, or Barbara for you, or Barbara 2.0, whatever she's going by these days. I have been following her channels and her social media stuff since 2015 or earlier. Since at least 2015. I know she created a 2.0 channel at the beginning of this year, and it was supposed to be a shift away from talking about political topics and just making silly, fun videos, travel vlogs, and she's been doing that. And I got kicked off of Twitter a while ago, and somebody sent me a link about Twitter and what she was saying on Twitter, and at first I was kind of in shock. So there's that, the stages of grief, denial. What are the other stages? I'm sure there's more than just denial. There's like what, 10 stages or something like that. Bargaining is one of them. There's more. But so I went through those, and then it finally struck me that, okay, at the end, I had to accept what I was seeing, but also accept that it's true. It's right. it's silly to fight against these things. We all know to be true, but when you're so consumed with hatred and you're consumed with propaganda and all you do is consume stuff from one side, it warps your mind. And so I'm seeing these things. So it was seeing these posts from somebody that I have been an admirer of for years, and I'm seeing what's going on now, and it really, really forced me to question what I thought and what I believed. So so I'm going to read the tweet. Here are some of Biden's promises if you're wondering what you can hold him accountable for. Keep in mind these are just promises for now, but I'm hoping they will come true. Hoping for criminal justice reform. Okay. And so, as we know, as I know now, Trump didn't fulfill any of his campaign promises. There's a lot of right-wing Kool-Aid being drunk that people are making excuses for him and saying one thing fulfills a promise when it doesn't. Okay, so here are some of the things that Biden has promised. Okay, COVID-19. Provide up to 12 weeks of paid sick leave for U.S. workers. That's amazing because there's so many people right now who can't go to work because of COVID. There's also when you actually have the virus and you can't work because of that. So so there's a program that would require 14 days of paid leave. That should be on top of what people get as far as their regular vacation and sick days. So COVID-19 tests will be widely available and free. Why isn't Donald Trump doing that? Hello, you're president. Well, I mean, you were president, I should say. You were president, you're not anymore. So why didn't you do that when you were in charge, Trump? He claimed he would put pressure on governors and to issue their own mask mandates. Again, why didn't Trump think of that? Why didn't Trump do that? It's something he could have easily done, and that's one of the reasons why he lost the election. All right, LGBTQ plus rights. So in addition to, there's something I had to come to grips with this week as well. I'm a member of the LGBTQ plus community. I didn't want to accept it. I didn't want to think about it. So, unfortunately, I am not a lesbian, a gay, a bisexual, transsexual, but I do kind of fall under the queer tag because I'm asexual, not asexual, predator, dynamo, whatever. No, not a space sexual, but asexual, all one word. I don't why this didn't occur to me or why I was refusing to accept this for so long. Again, it feels like there's a weight lifted off my chest because I can actually come out and say, hey guys, I'm not straight, I'm not gay, I'm asexual, I'm none of those. So this is my community now. I belong to this, what I used to insult and mock in my own delusional phobia because I was so hostile to what I knew I was on the inside that I internalized it and I lashed out at the people that have my best interest in heart. So I'm glad to see that the LGBTQ plus rights are being a priority under the the Biden-Harris administration. Sorry, it's easy to flip them around. It's a common mistake to think. But wouldn't that be, okay? Well, never mind. I'm not gonna. Okay, so enact the Equality Act. Okay, why is this not a thing? Why isn't this a law already? The Equality Act. yeah, and this is something I'm starting to realize. Trump and the other Republicans, they don't want equality. It's the people on the other side that have been demanding equality this entire time. And it's right there in the name, the Equality Act. They want everyone to be treated equally. Why would you not want that? Why would you possibly be against treating people equally? And so during his first 100 days, Biden is going to just enact that, which I didn't realize that was a thing presidents could do. I thought these things had to go through Congress, but apparently they don't, because he can do this in his first 100 days as president. So good on him. And it's going to guarantee LGBTQ plus individuals protection under existing civil rights law. My rights will finally be protected. And wait, and maybe that was kind of one of those things that was preventing me from accepting what I am. Because if I just came out as being asexual, there's a chance that I could be discriminated against because of that standing. And I would have lost rights. But as long as I pretended to be a heterosexual male, cis heterosexual male, I'd have all my rights protected. But if I accept and acknowledge that doesn't apply to me, there's a good chance I would have lost my rights. And within 100 days from now, we're gonna get this equal rights, and so I don't have to worry about this anymore. Reaffirm the Civil Rights Act, which and is gonna include based on sexual orientation and gender identity. So my sexual orientation is not ever going to be a problem with me finding work or keeping my job. This one hurts. Reverse Trump's transgender military ban, because I made a video about this, and this is what I was apologizing for at the beginning of the video. I was responsible for perpetuating phobia against transgender members in the military, and I see the error of my ways now. Reinstating protections for LGBTQ plus people experiencing homelessness. How is this a thing? How are members of this community being homeless right now? What protections were removed? I don't know. I would like them reinstated, because that sounds like something that should never have been removed in the first place. Why was that removed and nobody heard about it? It wasn't being spread around that that's what happened under Trump. That's the kind of information I would have liked to have known 2, 3, 4 years ago, and I never got it because I was so focused on my side. Man. Alright, so let's see if we can get, criminal justice reform. Expanding federal funding for mental health facilities and substance use disorder services and research. Alright, those are good things to be for. Decriminalize the use of cannabis and automatically expunge all prior cannabis use convictions. Okay, I'm with that. That sounds great. Stop corporations from profiteering off of incarceration. Boom, another, yeah. And I have no reason to doubt that any of this would occur. I mean, somebody's going to have to come to me and explain to me why Biden and Harris would not be believable when it comes to doing these things within the criminal justice system. Now that they are in charge, they don't have to, Biden's not going to have to go through Obama to get stuff done. He's not going to have to fight against Congress to get this stuff done. He's going to be president, so he can get this stuff done. Why do you think he wouldn't get any of this done? What in his past would possibly cause you to doubt that this stuff is going to be fulfilled under his administration? yeah. There's one more, I think. Healthcare. Okay, modify the affordable healthcare by adding a public option, right? And again, this is another thing I've got to come to grips with. A public option is competition. And competition makes everything better, right? That's, as far as I know, that is something that is still true and valid. Something right-wingers talk about all the time. Why are they so against having a government option or a public option to counter the private option, force competition, which is going to lower prices for everybody? It's an extra something that they're going to have to compete with, and they're going to have to lower their prices to match what the government is or the public option is providing, because they're overcharging for these services. Okay, it removes the current income cap on tax credits for individual health care. Wait a minute. Income cap? So, I'm a little confused about that one. Does that mean that's going to help people who make more money than what this currently covers? I mean, I guess because it's, if you're talking about filing jointly, your income is higher, and so there's people who are married who are struggling. They're still low-wage earners, but this cap is keeping them from getting their full health plans. So, yeah, okay. So preventing people from paying extraordinarily high premium costs. Okay. But that... Alright, I'm a little confused about the removes the current cap, because shouldn't it just make it higher? Because we don't want millionaires and billionaires benefiting from this, right? That kind of sounds contradictory to other stuff that Democrats hold and value. Why would it remove the income cap? Why wouldn't it say, if you're making, you're making $1 million, you can afford the high premiums, why would you benefit from these tax credits? So I will have to look into that. Maybe that's an error on their part. Okay, yeah. So, but I was looking through, there's a bunch of these that just started relatively recently, coming from Barbara, over the past week or so. I don't know if they extend beyond that, because I haven't had Twitter for a while, so I've been out of the loop. All I've had access to is the YouTube channel, the YouTube videos she's been creating, and then she recently came out with a video apologizing for some of the stuff she'd made in the past, and I was thinking about some of those videos, and that's why I'm like, oh, if she's seeing the error of her ways, and she's a really smart person, insanely smart, and I started to think, if she's reaching these conclusions, I should check myself and check what I believe and why I was wrong. So I'm gonna be talking about that kind of in a more in-depth video, but it's already 7:46. Whew, already 45 minutes into this, so it may not get wrapped up by 10 o'clock if I continue at this pace. So I am going to make a separate video dedicated to just Barbara and how she opened my mind to what is going on at the moment. It's been a while since I made a standalone video, so that'll be like my first standalone video in over a year, I think. But that is something I'm going to work on over the weekend, provided I have time, which I should have time. I don't have any orders to fill this weekend that I know of with my side business. So I should have time to do that. We'll see. All right. So let's continue this. Okay, so this is something I heard Charlie Kirk talking about, and I started reading through it, and I'm like, he's misleading his audience. He's providing this source, and he's just reading the headlines. He's not talking about what the article actually says. And I can't believe I didn't spot these patterns sooner, but we'll okay, so this is an article from BBC. It's about the country of Gabon, or Gabon, maybe. I'm not sure how you pronounce the actual name of, and sorry for that. That's my, former racism coming to the surface, because I don't know how to pronounce these names, and that's my white privilege, which I also have to come to grips and acknowledge that I am white and have been privileged my entire life. So mispronouncing the names of countries, that's my my internalized racism, or my what's the other my unconscious bias coming to the surface when it comes to the name of this particular country. Okay, so this is an article on vote rigging and how to spot the telltale signs. So, too many voters. Okay. Well, the problem here is, so this is something that a lot of right-wing people are talking about with this election, that they're saying this is out of the norm. Okay, so the figure cited here is you never get a 98 or 99% turnout in an honest election. You just don't. Voting is compulsory in Gabon, and it is not enforced. But even in Australia, where it is enforced, where you can vote by post or online and can be fined for not voting, turnout only reaches 90 to 95%. Okay, that on the surface, that seems pretty bad for this recent election, because we had the highest voter turnout in American history this election. In a lot of places that people are looking at, we were seeing 100+ turnout in certain counties. So I am afraid that I was one of those people who at first bought into this, because Wisconsin was at 110%, or was at 102% of their registered voters. But what right-wingers aren't acknowledging is that places like Wisconsin allow for same-day registration. So people who are registered on November 2nd, or September, or whenever this figure is from, the number is going to be a lot higher on election day, because people can register and vote the same day in Wisconsin. And we're seeing that in a lot of these other counties. The other thing is, so this is talking about 90 to 95% in the entire country of Australia and the entire country of Gabon. The United States is nowhere near those numbers. We are not at 90 and 95% of the eligible voters. We had 150-ish million people vote. It was like I gotta pull that up, don't I? Election 2020 results, right? 76 million, and then 70. Okay, well, we'll go 77 and 72. So we're gonna round up. So so 77 plus 2, that's 79, plus 70, it's 149. So about 150 million people voted. That's a lot of voters, but there are 320 million people in the U.S. And once I think about 60 million of those are people who would be ineligible to vote. So that's so the number of eligible people to vote in the United States is somewhere like 290-ish million people who could have voted but didn't. So, well, I mean, wait, not 290. Can I not do math now? Did I lose my ability to math? So 60, let's say 80 million of those, so we're 240, which means there's another 90 million people, right? Right? If this is about 150 million, and there's 240-ish million that would be eligible to vote, 90+ million didn't vote this time around. So that's nowhere near 80 to 90%, right? I'll have to do the quick math on this, right? So what is that? That is, so 150 divided by 240. And again, these are rough estimates. Okay, that's like 62%. 62% is ridiculous in a country that doesn't mandate voting? No. All right. I mean, that's a perfectly reasonable number to like 62% of people that could vote voted this time around. That's not the too many voters. So Charlie Kirk cited this as hey, this is something to look for. And a lot of right-wingers are talking about there's too many people that voted this time around. How is it too many people? We're at 62%. Or, maybe, but there's no way we're more than 70%. Even if my rough estimations are way off, there's no way we're hitting these 90 and 95% of eligible voters voting. So, yeah. So this is talking about having 120%. Okay, we didn't see anything close to that. Like we were seeing maybe 102, 105%, but that's not nationwide. That's in some districts or some counties. Okay, a high turnout in specific areas. Okay, so, but that's because there was more excitement about this particular election. This is not a typical election, so of course people who are in the swing states are going to show up in larger numbers than they would otherwise show up, right? So when we were looking at election night results, okay, we did see high turnouts in specific areas, but there's a perfectly rational explanation for that other than fraud, right? If you lived in Detroit, Michigan, and you knew, okay, we need this for Biden, you're going to show up in more numbers than Trump because you want to get him out, right? There's a lot of support for Trump, and I was one of them. I remember on like this is just a week ago. Just a week ago that my mind was of the opinion that Trump could do no wrong and would sweep entirely. That's all, I've only had a week since then, and now I'm starting to see, it's like, well, if you actually understood that Trump is literally the worst person in human history, then of course you're going to show up to vote him out. Well, not necessarily show up, because they don't actually go to the voting poll. I mean, we've got a pandemic going on. They're going to mail their votes in. Okay, I gotta watch what I say a little more closely here when doing this. Okay. Large number of invalid votes. Okay, how is this cited as a reason that this current election was fraudulent? Because there weren't a lot allowed valid, large number of invalid votes. In fact, there was more valid votes than people would kind of anticipate. What they were talking about with the mail-in votes is it was something around 30 times the number of mail-in ballots that didn't get invalidated, right? We've got a usual percentage of how many mail-in votes, and it's something like 5%. This time, we saw 30 times that get accepted and approved. So it's the exact opposite of a large number of invalid votes. So when I started to see this, I was like, dude, you guys are completely backwards. You are manipulating this for your audiences. And thankfully, I have the cognitive ability that where I started to put these pieces together and be like, wait a minute, this doesn't mesh. How are you citing this as a reason for fraud when we don't have invalid votes? Like, the number of invalid votes is minuscule. More votes than ballot papers issued. Where are the reports of this? I haven't heard anybody talking about more votes than paper ballots issued. Because people were requesting, we got more paper ballots than people requesting. So this point is completely irrelevant. I don't know why he cited that in his program as a reason to suspect something is off here. results that don't match. So what they're talking about here is, the electronic results are different from the actual paper ballots and what the counts were. So during an election, that's going to happen. You're going to have human error, people making mistakes, having to go back in and re-enter values in the computer. Those, especially since this is a unique election where there's a lot more mail-in ballots than people are used to. It's a different process. They're going to be playing catch-up a lot. So this should just be a one-time issue with this particular incident. But you also have to understand the results totals aren't done yet. But once we get the final, once everything is figured out and everything is put together, the results in the computer and the results of the actual physical votes, they're going to match. We don't have both to compare right now, so how can you say they don't match, making this fraud election? Hello? You're citing this as a reason, and you don't have the data to back that up. Delay in announcing results. Okay, there's another thing that people are pointing to because they're like, well, on election night, Trump was so far ahead, and then, out of the blue, all these places stopped counting votes or said, hey, we're done for the night. Come back in the morning, we'll start again. And it's been several weeks, and some of these places haven't been called. As last I checked, Alaska was still not called. But again, that's because this time around, it was different. So when you see this in a third world country where there's manipulation, where and again, you're talking about a very small country. I don't know how big Gabon is, but it's nowhere near 320 million people. So, just the number of people voted, 150 million people voting. You're talking about a couple million in Gabon, right? Not anywhere near the size of the United States. Actually, maybe before I should check that out, right? Yeah, 2.1 million, or 2.2 million rounded up. Yeah, so it's going to be much easier to manipulate an election when there's 2.2 million voting, at most, because again, you're talking about there's also kids included in that population and stuff like that. So there, under 3 million people voting. Okay, it's very easy to spot fraud there. It's very easy to see how but we're talking about 150 million. There's a lot of complexity in this system. It's very difficult to count votes. Multiple ways of submitting votes. Yeah. So not only is there more to keep track of and to count, there's more variety there. There's multiple counties. They're all pulling them into the same locations. The United States is huge compared to Gabon. The United States is larger than Europe, and you're talking about one country having, versus the U.S., which is more comparable to an entire continent. So yeah, this is wholly inapplicable. You're talking about comparing apples to oranges when you're saying delaying in announce results is proof of fraud this time around. So, okay. So this is the election in a nutshell, and I've got this video queued up, but I don't remember this, so this might have been something I put in my show notes earlier. We'll see.
For 3 rounds, nobody hit anybody. It was a dance recital. Finally, I think out of boredom, one of the guys connected with a right.
Okay. So this is a film, Sergeant Bilko, where they're rigging sports events. Look, that's an example of an actual rigged event. Did that happen on election night? No. Did that happen on November 4th? No. If we saw this everybody would be like, of course it's rigged. Neither side won. They both were in it, right? If we saw something like this, of course we would be there. We would be there saying, okay, there's foul play afoot. But we didn't see something like this. That's not what we were seeing. Did anything we saw this week come even close to this? Really? And you're out here saying this was rigged, they tried to steal it. That is what it looks like when somebody tries to steal something, when somebody rigs an event. So here's the crazy part is after election night, right? November 3rd, looks like Republicans are winning. Everybody's celebrating, you know, they all go to bed. They wake up the next morning, and this is what they're doing.
Move on! Nothing to see here! Please disperse! Nothing to see here, please!
You had Republicans like Ben Shapiro and Steven Crowder and Tim Pool. He's not even a Republican, and they were all saying nothing to see here. There's voter fraud. Don't believe your lying eyes, when all of these results are coming in and showing you that Biden won. And when Fox News is saying, yep, Biden won, and the Associated Press is saying, yep, Biden won, the New York Times is saying, yep, Biden won, CNN, all these places are saying, yep, Biden won, and it's only the Republicans that are like, oh, nothing to see here, no election results are in, we don't have them yet, Trump's still winning, nothing to see, don't look at any of these other sources. Come on, guys. Like, how did I not see this earlier? How like, I must have had these, like, blinders on where I could only see the right-wingers. I was, you know, horse blinders. Ho, 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 look how stupid all the leftists are. I'm gonna, oh, hang on a second. I don't think you can see my camera at the moment. For some reason, when Hangouts is just me and not sharing it with somebody else, it doesn't show. So this is what I'm doing. I'm like, I had these blinders on, and I was like, ha ha ha, Steven Crowder funny. Oh, that's a good point, Ben Shapiro. Yeah, good job, man. Stefan Monalou, man, all these other leftist stupid people, ha ha ha, NPCs, Orange Man bad, ho ho ho, that's what NPCs say. So, but, like, you can only put blinders on so much when you're saying, all these Republicans saying, hey, no, nothing to see here, don't look behind the curtain, right? No, don't look at the rest of the world, just see what we want to see, don't look past these blinders. Don't see what the actual election results are. That's what we saw all week long from Republicans. So, man, it's sad that I didn't see this stuff earlier, but I'm seeing it now, and I can't unsee it. Here's another thing that was going around. A lot of right wingers were talking about this guy, Flicka's talks. Okay, sure, he's got a check mark on YouTube, but is he Fox News? Who is this guy? Is he from Breitbart? Is he from the New York Times? Is he from CNN? No, he's just some schmo on YouTube.
Going on in Michigan, we're looking up some voter names of people who we know are deceased based on their date of birth, or in this case, based on obituary records. And we have one here, William Bradley. Let's type this in. William Bradley, date of birth 1902.
Well, okay.
Search. And look at this. Apparently William Bradley, who would be 118 years old, applied for a absentee ballot. The ballot was sent to him on September 19th, 2020, and then the ballot was received by the state of Michigan October 2nd, 2020. But the interesting thing is William Bradley also died on June 1st, 1984. We have the obituary records here. It's the same guy.
All right. So what he's seeing right there, this is something that it was circulating everywhere for days. And it's like, people have kids. What? This is not the same William Bradley. That's a typo or some kind of clerical error showing the birth date of the father when it's the son that actually submitted the ballot. All right, doesn't mean that a dead person voted. Hello, and we're going to get into that in a later topic. This came out. It's like, yeah, he has a son with the same name, William Bradley Sr., William Bradley Jr. William Bradley Jr. voted, not William Bradley Sr. So what you're seeing is just, hey, this was a legitimate vote. That what you're seeing is the computer system showing you the incorrect information because it doesn't realize that William Bradley Sr. is not William Bradley Jr. And you see this all the time when you're dealing with large data sets, especially when data sets are similar to each other. When you have a system that only returns one record because it's looking for an exact match, but you have two records that have the same information, it'll pull the first one, which is usually sorted by their creation date. So the record for William Bradley Sr. was number 1, and the record for William Bradley Jr. is number 2. And it found that record and is like, oh, let's display the information for Senior. And it's like, oh, no, but the actual ballot that was submitted was submitted by Junior. So this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. This is just, some dude cruising the internet. He thinks he's found something that's odd, and oh, this is the smoking gun. It's not. It's
same date of birth, 1902.
It's the computer system not being built.
So William
with
Bradley
juniors and
somehow
seniors
is
in
requesting
consideration.
Absentee ballots. Another one right here, June Aiken, born 1900, out of Jackson County, Michigan. If you type this in here. So for her, it's the same thing. The application for the absentee ballot was received on September 11th, 2020. The ballot was sent out in the same day, and then it was received by the state on October 8th, 2020. So this doesn't necessarily mean that this vote was counted. The state could have gotten it and thrown it out because they thought...
Yeah, there's the other thing. So he acknowledges that's the case. These are just ballots that were sent and received. Okay, but if you're one of the people counting the votes and you see this and you're like, this is fishy, you don't count this ballot. It doesn't matter, right? It's okay. This is obviously an issue. It more than likely, similar to the other situation, this is somebody with a name and the system linked it with somebody else with the exact same name. They didn't use the actual person because, again, he's searching by first name, last name, date of birth, and zip code. He's not searching by, like, social security number or voter registration ID. There's a lot of people that have the exact same first and last name that live in the same zip code. You're going to find people with exact same information. It doesn't mean that it's the same person.
It doesn't make sense. That's what they've claimed. But who's requesting and sending out these ballots? I mean,
okay, this is the part that really set me off, and it was kind of. So I started asking these questions, and I'm like, okay, this kind of. So who is requesting these ballots? Well, the Republicans are obviously saying it's Democrats. It's Democrat operatives that are requesting these ballots. And I'm like, well, Democrats the only ones that have any interest in American politics? Are they the only ones that could have possibly requested this? How do they know that these absentee ballots weren't attempts from Russia or China to interfere with our elections? Right? How would they know? How would they know it's not some foreign government requesting these ballots in order to throw doubt on what's going on? Why do you automatically assume it's the Democrats? And then why do you automatically assume that these votes are getting counted? So it's like I believe some tinfoil hat conspiracy stuff, but at some point you're like you have to apply not Hanlon's razor, Occam's razor, where you've got so many conclusions. Like, okay, this is intentional. This is, intentional. It was meant to, defraud the election, and it's Democrats. And you're like, wait a minute. You already have 3 unprovable assumptions. And you think that is the most valid explanation of what's going on. So, whereas, hey, maybe this is just a glitch in the system, only one assumption. Okay, maybe this is some meddling from one of our adversaries. Okay. And it's not one of our adversaries as in Democrats versus Republicans. It could be a hostile foreign government. It could be terrorist action. That's a single assumption, or two assumptions maybe, but it's not three. So you're already ignoring the obvious and jumping to conclusions that you can't jump to. So I'm going to end the video there. I mean, if you want to watch the rest and debunk that, I think I've debunked that enough for now. Okay. This is Senator Cruz. Again, okay, before I start this video, I got to say, Ted Cruz, like I was saying last week, there's something, or maybe it was the week before, Ted Cruz does this stutter thing. You know, the beat. But he doesn't do that in this interview that I could tell. So what that tells me is he doesn't actually have a stutter, and that he was just pretending to have a stutter, or was, mimicking a stutter to insult Joe Biden. Because he doesn't have it here, and so ever since the election results, all of a sudden, stutter disappears. It's not a natural stutter. It's something he was doing on purpose.
Judiciary Committee. He was part of President George W. Bush's 2000 Florida recount team. And Senator, it's always an honor to have you on this program. Thanks for being here.
Good morning, Maria. It's good to be with you.
First, assess where we are. You heard this weekend what we saw in terms of President-elect and Vice President-elect from the media. What do you believe is the status of this race?
Well, I think that is way premature. At this point, we do not know who has prevailed in the election.
All right, stopping it there. Of course, he would think that because he is a partisan hack. And that's what I'm seeing across the board. Partisan hackery. People not willing to accept the reality that's in front of them because they're so dogmatic in their views. So, but there is an area where I would agree with Ted Cruz. They should stop saying elect. No, Biden is the president, not the president-elect. Harris is the vice president, not the vice president-elect. The election's over. The only reason it would be elect is if the election was still pending. No. They won. They become president and vice president. That's how this works. It's like you'd think somebody who works in politics would understand our systems, and that once the winner is announced, that's how it is.
The media is desperately trying to get everyone to coronate Joe Biden as the next president, but that's not how it works. The media does.
Okay, so right there, he is completely off base. Okay, you don't coronate a president. You coronate royalty, like a monarch. And the only person who is showing monarchical tendencies is Trump. Biden hasn't been out there making royal decrees, which they did.
And at this point, we've got numerous states that are very closely and vigorously contested.
That don't matter anymore because Biden already has the totals he needs in order to be president.
From Pennsylvania to Georgia to Arizona to New Mexico to Michigan to Wisconsin, in all of those states, there are serious disputes about the vote totals.
No, there are frivolous disputes about the totals. They are frivolous, not serious. It's only serious if you have an R next to your name. It's only serious if you're conservative, conserving nothing.
And there's a legal process to resolve those disputes. So at this point, we should allow the rule of law to operate. We should allow the legal process to move forward. And when that process is...
Okay, so here's the thing, Cruz. No one's stopping the legal process. None of these news organizations don't have the authority to stop legal processes. They're not judges. They are not legislators. They're not politicians. These are people who run news organizations. They're not stopping you guys from filing your lawsuits and going to court and losing. Who is stopping the legal system? Nobody. Why are you making these false claims that people are stopping it? This is ridiculous.
Included, which it will be in a matter of weeks. We will know who prevailed in the elections, but the fact...
We don't need weeks, Cruz. We know who prevailed. Everybody is telling you who prevailed, and you stick your head under the sand and say, nope, not watching, not listening, not my president. We don't know yet. We don't know the results. Everybody else knows the results, Ted. Everybody else. Independents, Democrats, people in other countries, leaders of other countries like, Boris Johnson and Trudeau and all these people, foreign leaders, are calling in to congratulate Biden. Why are the only people saying, I'm not listening, la, la, la? Why are they the only people that have an R next to their name? At some point, you have to put the pieces together and say, the problem is with me, not with everyone else.
That the big newsrooms in New York City want Donald Trump to lose. They don't get to decide that. That's a question for the voters.
We are looking at multiple recounts in multiple states. We just heard from Rudy Giuliani. He's going to be dropping a lawsuit.
All right. So the recount thing, even with Bush and Gore, when it was recounted, the difference was like 400 votes or something like that. The split was under 1,000. We're looking at states where the difference between them is tens of thousands. Like, numbers so astronomically large, the recount is not going to swing it towards Trump, no matter what. There's no amount of extra votes or tallies. It's like, oh, yeah, there's 500 here. There's 100 dead people. Oh, okay, which is still, okay, then we beat you by 9,000, or not we, sorry. I shouldn't claim that I am a part of this group yet. I am moving there, though, all right? I'm still got one foot in my old positions, and I've got to cut that foot off and join the reality group. The group that accepts science, the group that understands what the truth actually is. So, yeah, this is pathetic. Maybe I should skip ahead a little bit here.
Examined to determine that there's not a problem counting the votes, and the legal process is how you resolve those questions.
Yeah.
We know who we want to win. That's not how it works. We need to follow the law, and that means allowing the legal process to play out.
Which we did on November 3rd. And then the days after when the votes were counted.
So we did not learn about the results from Gore versus Bush until December of that year, right?
Yeah. That's right, and if you look at the federal statute that governs the timing...
And again, so the Bush v. Gore, the difference was like 400 votes, it didn't swing thousands.
The presidential elections, it actually anticipates that there will be recounts, that there will be contested litigation. If you look at the federal statute, December 12th is the date that the electors meet to vote. December 8th is what's called the safe harbor deadline, which is that any contest election before that, if it's resolved, that resolution is presumed valid. So the federal statute anticipates that there are going to be contests, there are going to be recounts. And here's one dynamic that's important to understand. Particularly in this COVID time, this has been a strange election. On Election Day, Donald Trump won a large majority of the votes counted on Election Day. That was true throughout the country. With mail-in votes that were early votes, Joe Biden won a significant majority of the mail-in votes that came in. Now, in several states, we're going to see a recount process. A recount process, you look at those votes, you determine if they're active.
So there's one more thing he said in here, but I don't remember where it was exactly, but he's talking about the runoff elections and how they need to win those to stop. And that got me thinking, it's like, why was this so close? Okay, so I'm thinking, I went into November 3rd getting all of my information from one side and ignoring everything from the other side and saying that can't possibly be true. I was Luke Skywalker saying, that's not true. that's impossible. No. So that's what I was doing in my mind. And I'm like, that can't. But then I searched inside. I searched my soul to know that it was true. And, yeah. So, but then, because I'm not an idiot, I have a working, functional mind, my wheels started spinning when I saw Ted Cruz coming out here making these crazy allegations, saying the election is not over and it's not over until December. The election day is in November, not in December. What he's talking about is just right-wing propaganda talking points. But why are they dragging this out, and why are they fighting so hard to get these congressional seats? And it shows that, they already know they lost one position of power, and they're afraid they're going to lose the Senate and the House to the point where they can't do anything. So as I started to think about this, I was like, okay, there was supposed to be this massive blue wave, which, Blues won the presidency, but they were losing ground in other areas. And I think they flipped one Senate seat, but that was kind of something people were expecting to be flipped. But they were expecting the Senate to flip more than just one, to flip a bunch of them blue. And they were expecting to flip a bunch of House seats, and they ended up losing House seats. So this got my wheels turning, and I started to think, maybe this is why so many of these people are upset, because they tried to cheat and still lost. And they tried to cheat, which is the title of this episode. How much did Republicans cheat? Because all of what they're talking about right now is against the rules. They are violating the laws. They are, sure, they've got the legal process and nobody's stopping them from doing that. But the fact that they are denying that Biden won, they are making all these false allegations with no proof, they are making these illogical arguments where they're twisting the facts to fit their purposes. It got me thinking, they're trying to distract people from what's really going on. They knew they were going to win or to lose the White House because Trump is so unpopular. I mean, not just he's popular with people with an R next to their name and people wearing red hats, but he's so unpopular with everyone else. So, try as they might, they failed to get him back in, but they succeeded in Congress. And I'm like, well, Congress is not that big of a deal. It's going to block Biden. We're going to have this big stalemate. But the other thing is, okay, redistricting. That happens this time. That we're in the this is one of those huge things that happens because we are on. It's like it happens every 10 years because they get the census back and then they redistrict based on populations and based on how things changed in the voting demographics to try to balance things out. I mean, sometimes they gerrymander or whatever, but we've evolved as a society so that there's very little evidence that gerrymandering is still occurring in large numbers, especially when you've got mixed houses in Congress and stuff like that. But they were winning all of these state elections, like the Senate runs and local legislatures and governors and things like that, local elections and Congress. And Democrats are so excited about Biden winning that they're not seeing what's in front of them. They are not looking at Congress. They are not looking at these local legislators. This is classic smoke and mirror. Watch one hand while the other one smacks you in the face. And they're getting away with this. They're getting away with undermining our systems to maintain their stranglehold so they can redistrict to the point where it favors Republicans in 2024. Now, Biden has talked about something that would prevent this, but if he can't get the Senate, he can't prevent this from happening. So so this is something he said during the debate that I haven't heard a lot of people talking about, but I'm going to bring it up here.
The cages.
Let me ask about your immigration policy, Mr. Vice President. The Obama administration did fail to deliver immigration reform, which had been a key promise during the administration. It also presided over record deportations as well as family detentions at the border before changing course. So why should voters trust you with an immigration overhaul now?
Because we made a mistake. It took too long to get it right. It took too long to get it right. I'll be president of the United States, not vice president of the United States.
Yeah.
And the fact is, I've made it very clear. Within 100 days, I'm going to send to the United States Congress a pathway to citizenship for over 11 million undocumented people. And
within his first 100 days, he's going to send to Congress a path to citizenship for 11 million people. But if Congress is controlled by Republicans, that's not going to go through. If they have the majority in the Senate and they keep, fighting in the House, this is not going to go through. And they're going to get the redistrict, and they're going to swing things in favor, and this isn't going to go through. But if the Democrats were to have a majority in Congress, this goes through, and the tables turn. Instead of Republicans having this huge advantage in 2024, Democrats will have a huge, not just 2024, they would, you'd also have election cycles in 2022. So if Biden's plan goes through, it would undermine everything the Republicans plan to do this time around. So what I'm questioning, why aren't Democrats looking into all of these cases where Republicans probably cheated in order to flip things for them? Hey, fight fire with fire. Go in there and say, hey, they're accusing election fraud. Why aren't Democrats looking at election fraud committed by Republicans to maintain control of Congress and local legislators, like local elections, local politicians? I'm still, again, half and half. I'm entering Tim Pool milquetoast, although Tim Pool is now an alt-right Nazi, but I'm going the other way around to counterbalance him. So trading one Tim for another, although in light of my recent acceptance that I belong in the LGBTQ plus community, there's going to be a name change that's coming down the pike. Not just a name change for the channel, but a name change for how I want to refer to myself going forward. So it will be the Truth Ministry will be the name of the channel, and it will be like the Truth Ministry hosted by whatever my new name is. So I'll come up with something, but the shoe could be on the other foot, provided Democrats actually start looking into all the corruption that is obviously there on the red side. I mean, just think about it. Okay, the New York Times, CNN, ABC, MSNBC, the Washington Post, all of these Democratic leaders, they were all making the same claim for years, and then suddenly, because they win for a second, they forget, wait a minute, the Republicans are always cheating. They're always doing something nefarious, which is why they tried to impeach Trump. And they're like, what makes them think that the Republicans weren't up to their same old shenanigans this time? Hello, McFly, wake up. Look into this. Look into Republicans cheating. Stop burying in your hand and say, oh, you guys, well, because they put Democrats on the defensive saying, we didn't cheat, we're above board, we're legitimate. And it puts them off balance, so they never stop to consider, wait a minute, did you guys cheat? Why are you accusing us of cheating? How do we know you didn't cheat? How do we know you didn't rig elections? How do we know you didn't rig Florida? Really? Florida, which is supposed to be a swing state, went overwhelmingly for Republicans? Really? What about these other swing states like Iowa? Really? Iowa went all red? It's just these things that are being overlooked. Georgia, where Biden overwhelmingly won. Where's the support for the Democratic senators there? Maybe I'm thinking of North Carolina instead of Georgia. But I know one of those two had a hotly contested Senate race that ended up losing by large numbers. It's like, wait a minute. Did Republicans swing things so that way it looks like, well, nothing to see here. You guys won. You guys won for Biden, so don't look. Nothing to see here when you're talking about the Senate race that should have also gone blue. So this is the kind of stuff that most of the other stuff I'm talking about, that's all stuff you can hear from other sources. This is the one thing that I haven't seen anybody else talking about, and I'm like, man, I got to get this out there. I got to get somebody talking about this. How do you know the Republicans didn't cheat? So, all right, let's move on to the next thing here. Okay, what is this?
A second whistleblower. We have not talked.
All right. This is the most disturbing stuff I've ever seen. Okay, these are the same people that have been saying, oh, you're anonymous source, you're whistleblower, really? All right, have them step out of the shadows and prove what they're saying. And here they are, referring to some anonymous nobody who's a whistleblower. A week ago, you guys didn't believe anything a whistleblower said. You always said, hey, why is it always an anonymous source? And here you are using anonymous sources. The hypocrisy is so thick in this last week. It was probably there. It's probably been there for years, but I had the scales over my eyes.
Talked about before, described leading on, and I'm going to use the male pronoun again, leaving on his lunch hour. And while he was on his lunch hour, he just... Okay, so, I mean, this is very, very odd. Obviously, this person is not a he. And, who is this guy that's making... Matt Schlapp is disrespecting this individual's pronouns by referring to them as he. He would use the actual pronouns. He wouldn't say, using the male pronoun. Why? Why are you using the male pronoun? It's because this person is a trans individual, and you are denying their true gender? Or is this person a woman and you're like, nope, I'm going to say that they're a man, just because that makes you feel good, huh? Is that what's going on here? But, I mean, that's kind of secondary, because more than likely this person doesn't actually exist, and they're just trying to get jabs at the trans community in here, and they're slipping it under the radar as dog whistles. So, you know what I'm talking about. Decided to exercise around the counting center. While he was walking, he...
Okay, really? Yeah, decided, I'm going to take my lunch break and exercise around where votes are being counted. Because that's what people do. That's what people do on their lunch break. No. People don't do that on their lunch break. On their lunch break, they go and eat lunch. Usually go out to a restaurant. They don't go and exercise on their lunch break.
He noticed a van pulled up at the center, marked Biden-Harris.
Okay. See, all the people are like, oh, that's so really? Like... How preposterous is this story? There's so many things in this that just, like, okay, what are the odds of that happening? It's so so outlandish. It's like, are you going to throw in flat earth there as well? It's like, well, this person also says they took a picture of the horizon and they didn't see any curvature. Yeah, you're going to throw that, that's damning for the Biden-Harris campaign. Just keep adding more and more. Add more specifics because it sounds like legitimate, but it's like, okay, what you're talking about is something that seems so ridiculous and far-fetched, and all these people are buying it hook, line, and sinker.
The doors of the van were open. Ballots were clearly visible.
Okay, no. If this was going on like they're claiming it was going on, they wouldn't be so blatant about it. I mean, that's like saying, well... We're trying to investigate the mafia for human trafficking,
and this one person on his lunch break was jogging around the warehouse, and they saw a truck full of, like a trailer pull up to the warehouse, and they were escorting Chinese people out of them, and they put handcuffs on them and, you know, and cuffed them to a sewing machine and just walked into the building. If this kind of stuff was going on, it wouldn't be a secret. It wouldn't be so hard to find. You wouldn't need a whistleblower. It'd be like, everybody would be like, okay, there's the mafia. Cops, why aren't you doing your job? This is what they're talking about is so blatant. Like, how dumb do they think people are that they would just have a truck that says Biden and Harris and then start unloading ballots out of the back of it? If this was the kind of fraud that they're talking about, why do they have nothing other than what people are saying and what these eyewitnesses are talking about?
Ballots were opened.
It would be so obvious, it would be impossible to ignore.
With letter openers, and ballots were filled in and resealed in envelopes. No integrity. These people who were involved in this activity then decided to create a human shield around what they were doing in the van.
Yeah, this is. Oh, I don't like this where it keeps. It's not letting me keep my. Not letting me keep my video while playing a video in the background. Sorry about that. And there's a lot of stuff that's in these other windows that I can't put in my main window here. Sorry about that. If anybody's watching this, you're just gonna have to stare at a blank screen of, or a black screen of me for a while, because for some reason it's not showing up. All right, but there's not too much more of this, so we'll keep this going. What is this one?
And in particular, the Clark County Registrar went with a machine called the Agilis machine. And at least 200,000 votes were counted through the signature verification process of this machine only. I will repeat for the media.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I'm gonna. Oh, I guess I should play the rest before we're talking about it. So we'll play this.
No human beings looked at those signature matches to confirm they were in fact matches. Now we have.
And the sheep boo along with what he's saying. So this is something I like. This was after, you know, I had started to wake up and started to see through what I'm seeing and started to see through and behind the lies. And I'm like, of course they used a machine. We use machines all the time. They are far more accurate than human. Like, there's a, you know, that the old adage, to err is human. And you're like, oh, we didn't have people looking at it. It's like, yeah, because people make mistakes. Machines don't. Like, you go to the ATM and you put your card in and you request money out. How many times when you request money at like a bank or something like that, they miscount, or they're like, hey, wait a minute. You got to recount and double check, and you're like, okay, I said give me $100 in tens, and I only see 9 tens here. Where's my extra 10? And they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I must have double counters. Like, how many times are you getting change and somebody's counting your change from the cashier, and they give you extra change, or they give you, people make these kinds of mistakes all the time. You know which less likely to make mistakes? A machine. When you scan something, you get an exact copy of it. You don't get if you're trying to have a human copy something, you get an imperfect copy. But if you scan it in a machine, like you compare the original to the scan, most of the time you can't tell the difference. Machines, just in general, are less prone to error. Why would they be questioning this? You're like, oh, we didn't have a human looking at it because a human can analyze the pixels and see if the signature matches. A machine does that. A machine is like, here's signature 1, here's signature 2, let's map them over. We use machines to match people's fingerprints. We use machines to match DNA strain, which is far more complex than somebody's signature.
And imagine if there's complaining about DNA matches because, oh, they scanned it in a machine and humans didn't look at the DNA and see if it matched in the DNA. Well, we had to rely on this fingerprint analysis machine. We didn't have a human looking at that fingerprint to see if the fingerprint was a match to the suspect. Would that hold up in court? It would. If you were on a jury and somebody made that argument, wouldn't you just start like laughing in their face? Like, man, you've got to be the worst lawyer in the world. How does this hold water? It doesn't. It's an empty. This is nonsense. All right, so that's the hello, my name is human. Is there another one of these? Yeah. Okay, here's another one that's been circulating on the internet. Okay. Yeah, a friend just sent this. No. Somebody doctored a video, and then a friend. It's always a friend, right? You know, oh, it's my girlfriend from Canada sent this, right? This guy not talking is just all video clip, the video clip and then subtitles. It's, yeah, okay. Amateur hour. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be saying much because my stream right now is just showing the video and I can't get myself to show up in the bottom left corner. It's just a black square. Can I fix that by trying to cast? Oh, just get there, man. Why is it so long? It's a 2-minute clip for a 30 or 15-second little thing. Yeah. So this is the claim. It's like, oh yeah, this many votes switched from Trump to Biden. Alright. Alright. So, oh, obviously they're cheating, right? That's the conclusion that all of these people are jumping to, and it's like, which is more likely? People are cheating to defraud, or this is a problem not with the votes and how they're being counted, but this is the reporting of the votes as they're being reported to these news agencies. These votes reporting totals don't match what the actual county clerk is showing. This is why Fox News will have some numbers, CNN will have different numbers. And if you look at what 270 to win, will have different figures. Some of these places they still haven't called Pennsylvania, and they're behind by 80,000 vote counts or some, stuff like that. Some of these, the difference between these network organizations, they're hours apart from one another. So what we're seeing here is not what was actually counted, but what the news organization system is showing on the screen. And what we're seeing here is this flip from one to the other is because whoever is entering these numbers into their system at one point or another had votes going for Trump instead of Biden. And they're like, oh, we screwed this up. We applied them into one place. They should have gone the other way. And when they see the new results coming in, and they're like, well, now we're seeing Trump at 11670 and Biden at, we have to correct our screen to match the numbers that we're actually receiving. And then they look back and be like, oh, this is the point where we got off track. We entered these for one guy instead of the other. They fixed it. This is on the news organization's side. This is not on the counting systems. This is not on the people counting the votes. This is not on the reporting systems, not on their software. This is on the news agency's end. Come on, man.
You guys are grasping at straws because you got nothing. Alright, this is... Alright, when I first saw this, I was all about this, and then I rewatched it, and I'm like, ugh. Yeah, somebody bought the Kool-Aid, and it's sad to see someone in this guy's situation drinking so deeply and losing sight of what's real.
Interfere with the voting procedure. It's a felony class D.
Okay, if.
Offense.
Yeah.
In Pennsylvania, $1,000 fine or 5 years in prison.
Okay, $1,000 or 5 years in prison. Do you think somebody's 1,000 is... You think 5 years in prison is not enough to deter somebody from cheating? But do you also think, $1,000 is like, okay, that to me sounds like no big deal for somebody who's going to invest the millions of dollars it would require for a nationwide voting scheme? Do you think they care about $1,000? Maybe 5 years in prison, but that would be the only deterrent I would see. I don't know why he's bothering bringing up these $1,000 as if that means something. If what they're saying right now, you're talking about somebody sinking millions into this, do you think they're going to care about $1,000 in Pennsylvania?
So that was in Pennsylvania law, and nothing happened. Why?
Because nobody did it. If something had happened and you had proof of it, then the person would be charged $1,000 or go to prison for 5 years. What do you mean nothing happened? It's like, well, either they haven't been charged with anything and it hasn't gone to court, which that's what would happen if what was going on. The other thing is, or it didn't happen. None of what you think happened.
So, you see, I'm shocked, really. This thing really happens? It shouldn't have. I mean, China makes sense. See, I can't...
Yeah, like what? In China, it would make sense. Man, so again, he's drunk so heavily from the right-wing Kool-Aid. And I feel sorry for this guy, because I was there just a week ago. Or just a little over a week ago. And I see it now, and I'm like, oh, this is how they poisoned this guy's mind with the propaganda narrative, and he bought into it. And now he thinks China is the enemy. You're Chinese. You have been taught to hate your own kind. This is so ridiculous. Like, how much, like, maybe it is. It's not just Kool-Aid as in, like they drank they're gung-ho about their side. Maybe there actually is some substance or something that is getting these people... I mean, because it's very difficult for me to accept and believe that somebody would turn against their own kind in this way.
Through cultural revolution. And this is almost exactly what the Chinese beginning. The Chinese...
All right, so newsflash to this guy. This is the United States, not China. You left China and you came to the... So this is pretty sad, and maybe this is how the Republicans got to this guy, and that maybe his mental faculties are declining. I can't think of anything else that would kind of explain this. I mean, it's something that I would have bought and believed and been like, dude, this guy is speaking the truth. If I hadn't come to my more recent revelations. So, I mean, I guess I kind of understand, but, I mean, this is scary.
The cultural revolution looked like. So
they did the same thing with
first it was the peasants' life matters, workers' life matters, soldiers' life matters.
Okay, so he's saying in China there's a movement where they were like peasants' lives matters, and then children's lives matter, and so was it children's lives matter? Hang on a second.
Life matters, workers.
Oh, so worker, yeah, peasants' lives matter. Is he trying to say that peasant lives don't matter? Is he out there making the claim that we shouldn't care about the lives of peasants? And then he said workers' lives matter. It's like, is he saying that was a bad thing to get behind? Is he saying workers, you can go ahead and kill them. Peasants and workers, do whatever you want to them. They don't matter. That's what it sounds like this guy is kind of arguing for. soldiers' lives? He's anti-military just like Trump, and it's so bizarre to see how twisted these people's minds have become and how tainted they've become by this Republican propaganda narrative.
Soldiers' life matters. Soldiers' life matters. Okay, and they started burning down the buildings, confiscating the properties of factory, and destroying the wealth.
Well, of course they would do that because the other side is saying their lives don't matter. The other side is saying, no, you don't. Your life doesn't matter. Bow down and get in line. If that's what the other side is saying, of course you're going to revolt. That's what the founding fathers of the U.S. did. Are you saying that they shouldn't have? Like, the American Revolution in the U.S. is basically the founding fathers saying colonist lives matter. That's the message. Colonist lives matter. Let's go burn down the British stuff. Let's go throw the tea into the river. That's them standing up and defending themselves from tyranny. And you have a problem with that because you drank the right-wing Kool-Aid. Man, it's heartbreaking. All right. And speaking of the founding of this United States, this is one of the biggest. I saw this and I was like, this is a joke. 1776 will commence again. Really? Really, Charlie?
1,776% increase in voter registration for 90-plus-year-olds in Pennsylvania. So,
because that's not a made-up number. I mean, it's not made up because it's 1776. You just grabbed a number and you went to the founding of the United States. It's 1776. Like, it's just, you're just like, oh, I was taking the percentage of people over 90 that registered to vote this year on election day, and it's 177, or well, maybe it's not all on election day, but this election cycle, 177% increase. 1,776 just happens to match the day. Like, you are memeing people at this. You're laughing at your subscribers or the viewers of your stuff because you're making fun of them that they don't catch this stuff. You are mocking them, and you're like, dude, they're just gonna. It doesn't matter what I say here. I could put 69,420 in here, and they'd be like, oh, that's terrible. How did that increase? That seems unlike. Dude, you are making, and it's just happens to be 9,000. Just a nice round number. That's not made up at all. 4,250? Because that's, usually when things are missing or there's some kind of, it just happens to be in nice rounded off numbers. 4,000 or 6,000 votes, really. Just happens to be 6,000. Like, where's your degree of accuracy there? It's just 6,000. No extra. At least with the other incident that was spotted out, it was 19,000. Like, at least they bothered trying to make it a randomized number in their, in their calculation. Here it is, it's just 6,000. We're not going to bother with significant digits or anything like that. Just nice, even round numbers that are easy for our audience to digest. And the only one that's not a randomized number is 1776. The only one that's not, that actually goes to significant digits is a meme. Dude, if you're sitting there drinking the Kool-Aid and you're buying this crap, it's because you're not thinking about this stuff thoroughly. Whew, okay. So that I've covered China. That's 1776. Okay, here we go. Let's add some more tabs to this. Let's see if I can cast and resolve this camera issue. Okay. Did that fix my camera issue? If I do that. Oh, whoops. Let's see if I do that. Can I see both? Yes. Okay, that fixed my camera issue. All right. Good. That was really, really annoying. So all I had to do was cast to the Hangout, and then now I can click away from the Hangout, and I should be able to have that. No. No, it did not. Why do you hate me? So I guess maybe as the video's playing, I gotta click back to the Hangout, and because it's streamed. All right, yeah. Let's see how we can do this here. Yeah, sorry about the technical difficulties here, but we'll get there. All right, let me just throw these links here. And how are we doing on time? Oh, it is 9 o'clock. So how many other of these stories do I have to go through? Hopefully the rest of these are all fairly small. I can get through them in a relatively quick amount of time. Boom, 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 boom.
Let's imagine that we have a newspaper.
Okay, yeah, not too much more before I get to the ending clips here. So what, like 6 tabs total? Okay, we can get through this. We can get through this relatively quickly here. Gonna move this over. Leave Charlie Kirk and his nonsense made-up numbers alone. All right. And then while that's playing, I'm gonna click over here. So should be. There we go. So this is another thing that's been going around the internet, and people are buying this as a credible way of looking into the election results.
Hi, welcome to another New Jersey Forensic Accountant discussion. Today's discussion is going to be very interesting because...
So I'm going to start this off with, this guy's a forensic accountant. He deals with salaries and budgets and taxes. This is an election, not people's sales receipts. This is not your wheelhouse, buddy. All right, but I'm going to continue.
One of the techniques we use in the vast majority of our forensic accounting analysis is called Binford's Law. And I've been getting a lot of people saying, hey, how do you actually, they want me to go into some of the techniques we actually use, so I'm going to discuss this Binford's Law. Now, as a forensic accountant, I have many ways and techniques to spot fraud. One of the ways we detect fraud is especially when analyzing tax returns, general ledgers, and other items that contain a large amount of numerical data. Now, remember, we get into a case, a lot of times, people will give us a huge amount of information. Millions or hundreds of millions of pieces of data, and we have to find out if it's random or is there fraud? Is it manipulated in some way? And the first thing we always do is we apply Binford's Law. And what the law basically states is that any random number will have a specific result as to which digit appears in each data set. And the way it does this is through...
All right. So that's all, because everybody's talking about this, and he's explaining Binford's Law pretty accurately here. And yes, we see this in random result sets. And you would expect to see this inside the accounts of a business, because even though they've got different prices, or not everything they do is going to be the same price, right? So if they sell 100 of a certain item, yeah, you're going to see that same price throughout. But if you're talking about how expensive it was for them to buy stuff, the total purchase order, not just for one specific item, how many people buy just one item from their website, and then how many people buy the same item? Like, right, if you're talking about like some place like Amazon, where they sell millions of things per second, not everybody's buying the exact same thing, and prices change on Amazon as different sellers and stuff like that. So you're going to see this huge list, and it's not necessarily random, but it's close to random. And we see this all the time, like one of the examples that's brought up, the distance of stars, the distance of planets in the solar system, they all adhere to this randomized data set of Binford's law. The thing is, those are random data sets, as in, it doesn't matter what the individual things are. But when you're talking about votes, that's not a random data set, and it's being manipulated by people coming in to vote. People are doing this manually. That's what's so odd, why people are leaning to this Binford's law and looking for randomized numbers. And it's like, elections aren't randomized. Randomized are, humans have no control over the distance of stars away from the Earth. They have no control over the distance of planets. Guess what we do have control over? Our votes. This is not a randomized number data set. There is human manipulation of the data because humans are responsible for creating that data. And it's not the same thing as the prices and receipts and sales and taxes and things like that. Even though sales taxes are created by human interactions, it's not a 1-to-1 ratio. A vote is one vote to one person. There is a 1-to-1 ratio. So when you're talking about one sale might be $25, or it might be $125, or it might be $900. But one vote matches one number. This is not a randomized data set. The way that these people are describing it is a randomized data set. And this is, so I don't use Binford's law when I'm going through what I do as a profession. So for a profession right now, I am a software performance engineer. And it does mean I look at histograms. It does mean I look at data sets and find the anomalies in order to figure out where the program is making an error. So what I do is I go to somebody else's code, somebody else's website, or somebody else's application that they've built, and then we bombard it with test results or test runs, which is supposed to simulate users using the system, and we get those results. Those results aren't random because we are the ones manipulating those results. We know exactly how many people do X and how many people do Y and how many people do, because we wrote that. But we do find anomalies because it's like, well, if we had this many people doing X and this many people doing Y, it should take this amount of time, and we should have consistent results because we created consistent data sets. And if we get something that doesn't match our expectations, we know that there's a problem there. Because we're like, hey, wait a minute. We did 1,000 of this, and your system only ran, not only 900 of them were able to actually process. Where'd that extra 100 go? There's something wrong in your system because it should be able to process all of these. Or some of these took longer, out of 1,000, 900 of these all had this a very consistent time of how much time it took for them. These extra 100, they took twice as long or 3 times as long. That's something you can identify as, that's something and it's not manipulation of the data. It's not people out there trying to defraud me. It's people who made coding errors and we didn't think about that when we were designing our system, and so we didn't put something in place to account for those exceptions. We didn't think about what if somebody entered this instead of that, or we didn't think about, or we have something in our system where, we were only anticipating 50 people, and so our system is only handling 50 at a time, and when you bombard it with 1,000, our system doesn't have the resources to match, and we didn't have adequate systems or resources in place here. This is the kind of stuff I deal with on a daily basis. But I understand what I'm dealing with is not a randomized data set. And I can look and be like, you're talking about a data set. Why would the results of an election be randomized
when you're talking about people who want to vote Democrat, people who want to vote Republican. You shouldn't expect randomized results. You should expect to see very consistent, okay, this county is blue, this county is red. We should see this county has X number of population. It's like, you're not dealing with equivalent numbers. If you're dealing with equivalent numbers, you could expect to see this randomized distribution. But we're dealing with a curated list. A curated list, by its definition, is not going to fall within a randomized number. I don't know why people are turning to this as proof of fraud in the election. It boggles the mind to think that some people would look at this and be like, oh, a human manipulated system, if it doesn't fall by Binford's number or Binford's law, it's fraud. It's like, no, that's a sign that it was manipulated, and it was manipulated by humans when they went out and voted. Okay, so this next video is more the same, so I'm actually going to skip that because for time's sake, and I'll just go to the third reference because they all talk about Binford's law and breaking it down, and all of them cite monetary
Let's imagine that we have a newspaper,
examples,
and our goal is to read through the entire
or something
thing.
along those lines.
As we go through the articles, we're going to keep track of every number that we come across. Now, for these numbers that we've collected, we're only going to keep the first digit of each one, so that in the end, we're left with a list of single digits are more likely to occur than average, and the higher digits are less likely to occur than average. And the reason why this pattern shows up is that each one had. Also, feel free to follow me on TikTok that each one had. I wrote some code to scroll through videos and record the number of likes that each one had. Also, feel free to follow me on TikTok. I'm not sure if I'll even be posting anything, but you should definitely DM me some quality videos that you come across. So after running the code for about an hour, I ended up collecting the number of likes from 5,150 TikToks. Now let's see if the leading digits of these numbers match up to...
Yeah. So here he's talking about an example, and this is something you would expect to follow Binford's law. Because there is no amount of... there is no cap on the number of people who can like a TikTok video. You're going to have a random number of people who watch the video and a random number of people who liked it enough to actually click the button and like it. When you're talking about voting counties, there's only so many registered voters within a particular county. Those voters are going to come in, and you're going to have a very consistent a number of voters to registration. Why would you expect that to match something like this? We know we have a fixed number of counties. We have a fixed number of people who can vote in the election. And we know that there are only so many results. You would expect it to follow a pattern that looks more like it's manipulated because people are responsible for creating those numbers, and it's within a subset where there are limitations placed upon it. There aren't limitations placed on this one, so it would fall under a randomized list. Whew. All right. So what is this video? Oh, another one from this guy. Sorry for using two from this guy. Oh, my video keeps going out. Sorry about that. Wish I was something more I could do, but we'll play this clip, and then I will try to make sure that my camera is visible while it's going. Alright. So there's another thing to notice about this, like this tune playing in the background.
Being safe. What we don't want to do is become super spreaders. More than 220,000 dead Americans because of COVID-19.
Yeah. What's the problem? Get to the point.
What I told them at debate, we're not learning how to live
guest, isn't it?
You're asking us to learn how to die with it. And it's wrong.
And when the President of the United States...
What does that have to do with this?
...puts on these super spreader events, all the people came down with COVID.
So...
I just hope he is willing to have learned a lesson. And
all right. Well, so yeah, apparently this has something to do with the Hangout. So I'm gonna make sure this is actually in the Hangout video here. So sorry about that. So you can actually see the video that is playing, what this guy is putting out there. Let's try this again.
down with COVID. I just hope he is willing to have learned a lesson, and there will be significant social distancing.
Alright, so they're showing large crowds, and it's like, dude, who knows where these crowds are? You know, they're not saying what's going on. All these people are wearing masks, so they're not Trump supporters. They're showing Joe Biden signs and stuff like that.
200 million people have died. Probably by the time I finish this talk.
Yeah. So I feel bad for making fun of them for that, because it's easy, because I've been doing this. I've been making similar statements in these videos, right? We're bungling numbers, saying one thing when I mean another. You know, Freudian slips happen all the time. Yeah. So right there, this guy's providing a source that says Black Lives Matter protests haven't led to a spike in COVID. So what he's trying to condemn them for doing right now is celebrating in the streets. Okay, well, Black Lives Matter protests didn't, end up with a COVID. Why are you saying this would? This is not a super spreader event. Republican events would be super spreader events because they're not wearing masks. They're not social distancing. So that's the problem. I was drinking the Kool-Aid, and I kept telling myself, why would a virus not, it's like, these Black Lives Matter protests, why would a virus make an exception in these cases? And it's like, because the people are behaving differently. You're talking about people who do follow the science, who are wearing masks, who understand that the COVID is out there, but they're so enraged that they're going to go and take the streets because they're fighting an injustice. But if you look at Republican rallies, these are people who think COVID is a hoax, and they're not taking the same precautions when it comes to their own health. So somebody's going out there thinking, it's just a cold, COVID's not real, and they're spreading it. People in the Black Lives Matter, they understand it's real. These people, they're going out and partying in the streets, but they know that they've been taking all the measures, all the precautions, everything they can do outside of the protest to make sure that they're not spreading it. So then when they get there, none of them have it. That's why Black Lives Matter protest hasn't led to an increase in COVID deaths and an increase in COVID cases. But Republican events, you can look, there's pictures where everybody's going out there not a mask, and there's interviews and it's like, that's all hoax. And I was drinking the Kool-Aid. I was on that side just a week ago. But I've had a couple of minutes to think about it, and over the past few days, I've come to realize that I was so woefully incorrect about all of that, and I see it now. Now that I see clearly now. All right. So the rest of these are not video clips, but they are articles. So hopefully this should be a little bit better. And I can. Oops. That's the same video. Why did that link not copy? There we go. Barr tells federal prosecutors. Let me make sure my video is up. Alright, so there's a video of Joe Biden playing, but Barr tells federal prosecutors to investigate clear instances of voting irregularities, sidestepping DOJ policy. Now, when I first saw this, I was seeing all these Republican people talking about this like this was a good thing. And it's like, but he's going against DOJ policy. Why is that a good thing? Why is he telling people, like, Trump already has his court cases going. No one's trying to stop those court cases. Why is Barr throwing his hat in the ring as well here? That's not his place. He's not a member of the judicial branch. This
it seems like they're combining every tool they have, trying to fight what they know is the inevitable. And I'm like I was saying earlier, they're trying to cover up what they did and getting everybody to focus on the presidency, so that way no one is paying attention to these lower level or these local elections and the congressional elections. So I'm seeing this and I'm putting these pieces together, and it's the the fact that they're saying there's instances of voting irregularities when all the mainstream media channels are saying there's nothing. There's no proof. There's no evidence. So this is something kind of didn't want to talk about on this channel. Didn't anticipate talking about on this channel. But it's something I need to talk about. So and I'm going to kind of relate it to this. Because it kind of fits. So, 2 weeks ago, I had a colonoscopy. I've been having health issues, and so 2 weeks ago, I went in for the exam, and they had, they were looking for something. It was a very small likelihood that it would be there, but they went in with their camera, they took pictures. What they found was nothing. Just like they found nothing with all of these fraud allegations. And, it's like, oh, you look up your rectum, what are the odds that you're going to find something there? Not likely. And yet that's where all these Republicans are pulling all of these fraud allegations. They're pulling them straight out of their rectums. So, there's nothing there. There's no fraud to pull out of a rectum. So they pull it out and say, oh, nope, I got it. You can't see it, but I got it. It's there. It's real. It's so laughable now that I see the truth. Don't know why it took me so long to see it, but I see it now, and again, I can't unsee it. So, this is the last topic I'll talk about before kind of wrapping up and then go into the ending clips here. Litterally Hitler. So this is jewishhistory.org talking about the rise of Hitler. And there's a section here, okay, that I'm going to talk about and explain why this applied to the previous administration and has no bearing or semblance of any way, shape, or form to the current administration that took over. Okay. Hitler was able to mobilize criminal elements into street thugs who literally beat up his enemies. Does this sound familiar to you? The poor boys? Wait, no. That doesn't sound right. Poor boys? Proud Boys. That was it. Sorry. My mistake. Proud Boys. It's like, who do we know that has taken criminal elements and turned them into street thugs to beat up their opponents? The alt-right rallies, was that Democrats who were mobilizing those thugs? These became the paramilitary organization, the Brown Shirts. Okay. The Brown Shirts, not Antifa Black Bloc. Do you see them wearing brown? No, they're wearing black. Completely different. Nothing in line with what Hitler did. And named after their uniforms. Well, okay, so that's another thing where they don't... Proud Boys aren't exactly named after their uniforms either, but they have a uniform, and they're mobilized by Donald Trump supporters. Okay. Antifa is a grassroots movement with no leadership. So they don't... It's not
the only one who is behind an organization is Donald Trump, and he's mobilized his thugs, and he's claiming the people defending themselves are a terrorist organization. Hitler took unemployed people off the street, gave them brown shirts with an armband supporting a swastika. Well, I don't know how that okay, sorry, that taking unemployed people and putting them onto the streets as armed thugs. Okay, so it's not an exact analogy to anything that's going on right now. But sorry, so I'll skip ahead a little bit here. Suddenly these powerless people had power. No, doesn't apply. None of this could come without financial backing. And Hitler found found many? What is that? Sorry. I'm reading this on my screen because I can't see the article at the same time, otherwise it hides my video. Ready. It's not an M, that's an R. Okay, that makes more sense. Alright. Found ready financial support amongst German industrialists. Who is supporting the Democrats as an industrialist? Which side is supporting which? The wealthy are supporting Trump because he's giving them tax breaks. He's pulling favors for them. They hate the Democrats. Which side is funding this? Who are Trump's buddies, right? You got your Jeffrey Epsteins, right? Because there's pictures of Trump with Jeffrey Epstein. He's in Jeffrey Epstein's black book. Biden isn't, as far as I know. Those are the type of wealthy, connected people that are supporting Trump because they know he's better at that, right? Amazon getting their tax cuts under President Trump. Does Jeff Bezos really need the tax cuts? How do we know he's not the one financing the Proud Boys? So, yeah. So, again, look at it. So, they were uneasy with him, but at least he wasn't a communist calling for the seizure of and nationalization of their businesses. AOC's kind of calling for that, so why would the industrialists be behind the Democrats? They're the ones threatening to take their stuff. No, all of Wall Street is behind the guy who says, I'm going to let you keep your stuff. And even though they probably don't like him, and Jeff Bezos and his organization has been against Trump, and Facebook has been censoring posts, but they're financially backing Trump, aren't they? Or how, like, that stands to reason that they would be, because otherwise they stand to lose their businesses, and it's going to be redistributed to the people. And these people like to hold on to their power. Yeah. So despite Nazi gains, blah, 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 skipping a little ahead here. Okay, so it was during an economic hardship that they rose to power. Does that sound like someone we know? A Mr. DT? You know, we were just coming back from a crisis, an economic collapse, and we were starting to get back on the rise, and that's when he rises in popularity. So a lot of similarities here. That's when his party was starting to take the lead, because they were talking about, oh, he's going to bring us back financially. He's going to make the economy better. He's going to do all this and that. And it's like, that's the same thing Hitler was telling Germany when he rose to power. Germans were looking for a savior and a scapegoat. And what did Trump give them? He says, what have you got to lose? Come to me, I'll fix your problems. China. He kept saying China. Oh, because What does that make China? It's an awfully convenient scapegoat, isn't it? Blaming all of the problem on foreigners. Where have we seen this? I'm going through exactly what happened here, and I'm seeing the parallels. I'm seeing the similarities. You could try to make the same claim on the other side, because, you've got the economic collapse of COVID, riots in the streets, and who would be there? There's maybe Russia's the scapegoat. But Biden isn't an evil racist, so that doesn't apply here. The Russians are white. So the one who's more closely aligned with Hitler would be Donald Trump. So they talk about the Great Depression. So at that point, he felt victory was in his grasp and let loose the brown shirts more than ever before. Pitched battles were fought with his political enemies, not only metaphorically but literally. German politicians engaged in fistfights on the floor of the Reichstag. Okay, again, like I said, it's not exactly a one-to-one parallel, but you can definitely say that when Trump was running, or after he got into power, he was definitely letting his guys go and run the streets and get into political fights. Let's see. Moving on. The Weimar Republic. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, and it was just they appeased Hitler, the more powerless they were to stop him. So that seems kind of... Who was the one... Yeah. I mean, more and more powerless to stop him. And had the U.S. not stopped Trump this election, he would have kept pulling power to himself, right? And had we let this continue, next time around, we would have been, like, imagine another 4 years of Trump. Another 4 years of Trump, would we be able to stop them in 2024? Would we be able to, not just them, would we be able to stop him? Right? Like, I thought it was a meme. I thought it was a joke when he's talking about, being president for life. But if he won a second term, and he follows this same pattern as Hitler... what would be to stop him after he got the second time? He would be continually gaining power and continually preventing, like I was saying, with Republicans gaining control of Congress and redistricting. How is that any different from what Hitler did? These are the things that I was overlooking before, but I see them now clear as day. So the president of the Weimar Republic was literally war hero. That doesn't apply to either. So so now, however, he felt that giving in, hoping that being second in command, mostly Hitler. Not mostly Hitler. What is that word there? It's a little small on my screen. Mollify. That's okay. Probably could have reasoned that. Okay. So the current president of the Weimar Republic Weimar Republic felt that he had given in, hoping that being second in command would mollify Hitler and he would stop there. It's like, well, I mean, I guess there's not a parallel with Trump there, but do you think Trump would have stopped? Do you think he ever would have stopped? It's like as soon as he won that second election. Do you think he would have stopped persecuting people at the border and putting kids in cages? I mean, that's stuff that came out during the debate. And again, I was on the other side. I had drunk the Kool-Aid, and I was making their talking points for them. But not anymore. I'm getting there. So once Hitler got power, however, no one controlled him. Sound familiar? Was anybody able to control Trump once he got into power? He increased the activities of his brown shirts. Did the Proud Boys stand down after Trump? No, there were still riots. There were still activities. There were still fistfights. Up until, well, I guess up until this year. Well, it was until the riots started this year. And then they're back at it again. So then he presented the Enabling Act that gave him absolute power. And although it was political suicide to vote for it, no one dared vote against it. It's like, how many things did Trump get through that, so this is again where the parallels kind of end, because Trump didn't get to be Hitler. He didn't get to institute his concentration camps. He didn't get to build his gas chambers, but that's because there were people stopping him from gaining this, and they were stopping his acts that would have promoted him to the position of Hitler. So this last line, when the almost senile president died that summer, Hitler had complete control of Germany. Again, like I said, the parallels, they don't quite match up, so, take it with a grain of salt. History doesn't, what's that phrase? History doesn't repeat, but it does rhyme. So they're not going to match up exactly. You're not going to get somebody who matches everything Hitler did. That would be a little too obvious, right? So there's things that are different. So you can't draw all the parallels, but obviously Trump is a parallel to Hitler. He's not an exact copy of Hitler. I mean, he doesn't have the mustache. He doesn't have the charisma. But what I'm seeing is what this is talking about, the entire process. I'm like, man, that's what we saw in 2016. And the parallel to the current administration or what's currently going on, it's a stretch. It is. You have to bend it and shape it in order to get it to match the pattern, right? A senile president giving the vice president or the second in command like full authority to enact that. We don't have a parallel to that because we just don't. It's all right. All right, with that, I am done with all the topics I had to talk about. I don't have anybody else on the show with me. Let's see, was there... I think that covers everything. So, let's have a little bit of uplifting palate cleanser. Because I got a lot off my chest. Hey, to anybody who joined this channel because they I was saying the things they wanted to hear, I'm sorry. I can't be a partisan hack. I've got to follow the truth and where the truth leads me, and I gotta say what's real. Which, again, if you're saying the opposite of what everyone else is saying, which is more likely, that everyone else is wrong or that you are wrong? And when you are calling out your opposition for their hypocrisy, and then you do the same thing, the truth is clearly not on your side at that time. And if you look at it, it's like, okay, you're being hypocrites now. Who are the people that have been consistent? It's like, well, if you did rob the election from them, and if Trump literally is Hitler, they've been consistent. If Trump is not Hitler, if everything is above board, you're the one being hypocrites. You don't believe your own rhetoric, guys. That's all I'm saying.
that's what I got off my chest. I had to put this out there, and welcome to the new channel. I will be making a lot of changes over the next, hopefully the next couple of streams. I'm going to be adding more musical elements, or at least that's the plan. And again, I am coming out with a video thanking Barbara for helping me come to my senses. Yeah, thanks for anybody who joins me and ends up watching this. And I'm going to play this clip for you.
Are you going to use all these mics? It goes like this. And then the chain. We talked about the chain. Drop down. You ready to do one? Let's do one.
I'm not going to play the full video. I don't know if the copyrights and all that sort of thing, but this is Tim Heidecker, which, if you're not familiar, that's the guy from Tim and Eric Awesome Show, and Tom Goes to Mayor, and what else was, like, he's one of the guys responsible for those, the Old Spice commercials, like the crazy one with, you know, with Terry Crews. I didn't realize he was musically inclined, but he's got a band and albums. This is one of those songs, and I'm like, man, it's a nice bass groove. That's pretty cool. And this is another one here, which seems pretty appropriate given the current situation where everybody's working from home.
I'm low to the ground.
And it's a very cool one solid take music video.
Out of bed today.
I love these solid one take tracking shots because they're so difficult and so many things have to be
too many drinks, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, aligned perfectly like this.
So I'm gonna work from home. Call if you need me. I don't think I'd be much use anyway. Yeah, I'm gonna stay in bed, stare at the ceiling, wait for the sickness to just go away. I know it's happened before. I guess you could say, yeah, it's a trend. And so,
very well choreographed.
Today to figure out how to make it end.
Alright, that's all I'm going to play of that. Oh man, my screen went black again. It's really annoying. Wish there was a way I could get... Hang out. Stop turning my screen black. So, but that's all I have for today. I know this is a rather abrupt change of format and content. Well, I mean, I guess not a huge change because, I mean, the content is relatively the same. My opinion on things and my takes on things, they've kind of done a 180. Also means I have to come up with a new closer, which I thought, I was like, oh, I finally settled on one, and then a week later, it's no good. Two wrongs don't make a right, they make a leftist. Again, alright, so
I think I'm going to end up closing with something along the lines of, now that I've seen the error of my ways, I know what to look for. I know what to spot, where to see, where they're giving you partial truths and not the full truth. So, my advice to anybody who does end up watching this, don't go to these original sources that I am linking. Don't buy into their narrative, because more than likely you're going to go down the rabbit hole like you're going to get pulled in. I've escaped the vortex. I know how to stay out of it. So, I would say, if you want honest news that you can rely on, come to me. I mean, you can't get more honest and open than truth. I mean, it's right there in the name. Truth Ministry. Hosted by whatever my new, whatever my new non-slave name ends up being. It's not going to be something X, though, because that would be cultural appropriation. But I will come up with something to separate myself from the old and transition to the new. Sorry, shouldn't say transition. That's, again, cultural appropriation. That's not my wheelhouse. And I'm sorry to anybody who was offended by my use of the word transition, because I know I'm not there, and I don't know how. I can't relate to that experience. But I am an ally. I'm with you. I'm in the movement. So, if anybody is interested in knowing what the right actually has to say, I'm going to analyze it. I'm going to show you what they aren't telling you. I'm going to provide you, the unspun truth. So don't go in yourself, because there's a good chance that you're going to get sucked into the vortex. Instead, get your inside scoop filtered by the Ministry of Truth. And on that note, I'm going to call it a night and end it.